My aunt had always been a woman of logic, skeptical of folklore, unmoved by superstition. But when she overheard whispers of a market where vendors never spoke and seafood was sold for next to nothing, curiosity got the better of her. The market, they said, was unlike any other. It appeared only at dawn, on a small island accessible only by boat, and once the sun crested the horizon, it was gone without a trace. The thought sent a shiver down her spine, but the promise of fresh seafood at absurdly low prices lured her in. She found a local fisherman willing to take her there. As their boat glided over the misty waters, an unnatural hush fell over the air, broken only by the rhythmic splash of oars. When they reached the shore, my aunt noticed a strange stillness. Not a single gull cried overhead, and even the waves seemed to soften as if afraid to disturb the silence. The market stretched out before her, a row of wooden stalls manned by figures dressed in old, tattered garments. Their faces were blank, almost expressionless, their hands moving methodically as they laid out glistening fish, wriggling crabs, and trays of shrimp. Not one of them spoke. Not one of them acknowledged the customers beyond handing over their goods in exchange for payment. The other buyers were just as silent, exchanging furtive glances but never a word. The hush was suffocating. My aunt felt an inexplicable weight pressing down on her chest as she selected her fish. It was fresher than anything she had ever seen, yet something about it unsettled her. The eyes of the fish seemed too lifelike, too knowing. She wanted to ask a question to break the eerie quiet, but instinct warned her against it. As soon as she stepped back onto the boat, relief washed over her, but a gnawing unease clung to her, growing stronger with each passing hour. The fish sat in her kitchen untouched. The thought of eating it sent a deep, inexplicable dread through her. By nightfall, unable to bear the feeling any longer, she took the fish outside and buried it in the backyard. Sleep evaded her that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she swore she could hear a faint, wet whispering, a sound that made her skin crawl, determined to uncover the truth. My aunt returned to the island alone the next morning. This time, she lingered at the edge of the market, watching the vendors more closely. They moved like clockwork, robotic yet precise, never acknowledging one another. Were they even human? A woman new to the market broke the silence. "How much for this?" she asked aloud, her voice cutting through the hush like a blade. Instantly, the air turned thick. The vendors froze mid-motion. My aunt's heart pounded as she watched a fish on display wither into skeletal remains before her very eyes. The vendors, the stalls, even the boats moored at the shore, everything faded like mist, dissolving into nothingness. Within seconds, the market was gone. The woman gasped, stumbling backward. My aunt grabbed her arm, both of them now standing on an empty beach with only the lapping waves as proof the market had ever existed. She never returned. But sometimes in the quietest hours of the morning, she swore she could still hear the whisper of waves carrying voices that were never meant to be heard. And the question still lingers: what secrets does this world still hide from us? In a small